Talking today with Mr. Fred Spencer of Richland, Michigan. The interviewer is James Smither of the Grand Valley State University Veterans History Project. Now, Mr. Spencer, can you start by telling us a little bit about yourself? Where and when were you born?
I was born in Ottumwa, Iowa in 1924,
Okay.
and we moved to Michigan, to Hammond, Indiana, rather, in about 30. My dad was with Standard Oil, and then he came to Michigan, to Kalamazoo in about 1935.
Okay. Now, so was he able to keep his job all that time? He stayed with Standard Oil?
No,
Okay.
the Depression, he lost his job. So we were, like everybody else, on welfare. He drove a coal truck, delivered coal for 50 cents a ton. Maybe he would deliver a ton, 2 ton a day at the most. Then in 1940, I was still in high school. I was 16 years old. All my buddies were joining the National Guard. We figured something was going to happen in the war, so I thought I'd join up with them. Really didn't know what I was getting involved in.
Okay. Now, in school, were you learning about what was happening in Europe? What did you know about the war at that time?
Yeah, we knew quite a bit about the Germans and their hate against the Jewish people, and about going into Poland and the war with Britain, and
Right.
we helped Britain before we got into the war.
Right.
So we all more or less knew that we were going to get involved sooner or later. So we all were very patriotic.
Okay. Now, when did you join the Guard?
In October of 1940, and about 2 weeks later, we went to Camp Beauregard, Louisiana.
Okay.
It was an old army camp. We had big promenade tents. We had one unit for a dining hall. The bathrooms were slit trenches, the latrines. We stayed there for nearly a year.
Okay. Now, let's back up a little bit. When you joined the Guard, they had not yet been mobilized, right? They were
No, they were not mobilized.
So what did you expect to happen when you enlisted? What did you think you were going to be
I thought
doing?
they'd mobilize and go. I didn't know, I have an idea where we'd go. But I figured we were going to get into the war.
Right.
And being a young patriotic kid, we all were against the Germans. And we wanted to go to war and help the French and the British and everybody.
Now, were you surprised that you were mobilized so quickly after you joined?
Not really.
Okay.
It was pretty much.
That's why you did it.
Yes,
okay.
we did. Yes.
Now, okay, you were talking about Camp Beauregard. You were saying now they didn't have a lot of facilities for you there.
Oh.
You just had tents and slit trench latrines, that kind of thing.
That's right.
What kind of weapons and equipment did you have?
We didn't even have a helmet, metal helmet, and a lot of us didn't have rifles. I was in the platoon section, and we had sticks that we set up in like a tripod for a mortar.
Okay.
Because we really didn't have the mortar. We had a light machine gun. We had some of the rifles were the old 30 caliber
Right.
Springfield with the bolt
Right.
action.
World War I rifles.
That's
yeah.
right, and that's what we had.
Did you have vehicles or artillery or those things?
We had artillery, but was not our company. It was maybe a D or some company, and the vehicles were very limited. I don't think we had any vehicles in our company at all.
All right. What was the training like?
Well, we get up early in the morning and go out in the fields. Everything was kind of pine forest in Louisiana. It was hot. We trained very hard.
Mm-hmm.
All were very physical. Then we'd have lunch, very little lunch, and we train till evening and go back in. And then we'd have dinner at the evening in the little mess hall like we had there. And we were real pleased when they heard that they were building a permanent facility for us in Camp Livingston, Louisiana.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So we were there about 6-8 months before war was declared.
Okay. Now, tell me about the men in the company you were with. You were with Company C, so it was raised in the Kalamazoo area,
Right.
the core of it was. Now, how old were the men that you were serving with?
From about my age to maybe 19, 20 at the most.
Okay.
Anything over 20, you're an old man, you know.
All right. Well, were there officers and sergeants and things who were older?
The officers were older. The sergeants weren't much older.
Okay.
A little older. The first sergeant was a little bit older than the rest of us.
But they were still basically young guardsmen.
Yes, right. Most of them all young.
Did you have any World War I veterans with you?
No, none at all.
What about among the officers?
No.
Okay.
No.
Now, as you were training, how well did the men hold up?
Very well, because in those days, I think they probably more or less figured if you were any older than 24, 25, you couldn't be in an infantry group. They would put you in a quartermaster
Right.
or even maybe field artillery. I don't know, but all the young guys were in very good physical condition. In those days, we never had too much of a weight problem. We never had much
Right.
to eat, you know.
Yeah. And a lot of you probably had done some outdoor work or
Oh, yeah,
heavier work.
We
So
were all young kids, and a lot of us parents were farmers, so we pretty more for the physical condition was good, you know.
all right. How did you adjust to the heat?
That was very difficult to start with. You know, it was tough, but being young, you can accept those a lot better than you can as you get older in years, you know.
Right.
But we didn't have any fans, no air conditioning, but it cooled off in the evening, so it was fairly nice.
Right. Okay. Now, when you moved to Camp Livingston, how was that different from Camp Beauregard?
We had units that were all framed, and you put the Promo tent over them, but they had floors in them,
Right.
had heaters in them, and we had plumbing, latrines, showers. We had a nice big mess hall, nice kitchen, nice dining facility. It was much, much nicer.
Now, were you starting to get more weapons and more equipment now?
Then we started to get M1 rifles, and started to get helmets. In those days, leggings were pretty popular, the canvas type you
Right.
laced up around your legs, you know. And we got the mortars, and got the machine gun, and we had the rifle range and the weapons range, and we'd go out and practice with those. And we became real proficient with them, you know.
All right. Now, were you serving with a mortar crew?
I was with the weapons platoon, but
Right.
I was in the light machine gun.
Okay, you were a machine gunner. All right. Now, were you the gunner or a loader, or did you do both?
I was the gunner. I was also PFC, but I was a squad leader. So I was in charge of the machine gun. We had one machine gun and one mortar. And we had people in there that some carried the ammunition, some carried the machine gun. one carried the tripod, and most of us didn't have rifles. They had sidearms, 45 Colts.
Right. Now, did your platoon have a radio, or?
No,
Okay.
we didn't have radios in those days. No.
Let's see. Now, were most of the men in your platoon, had they joined after you did, or were most of them guardsmen?
They were all guardsmen from
Okay.
Kalamazoo.
All right.
But after we got down here in Camp Livingston, in the first part, I think it was 41, that's when the draft came into effect.
Right.
And we had a lot of people that came down, but they were all Michigan boys, you know, from Detroit and Grand Rapids. And
Right.
so, and they were a little bit older, maybe in their 20s, you know. But then we had some that were 26, 27, 28, some of the guards that was in with us,
Right.
that when war was declared, or just before war was declared, they discharged those guys and let them out. Especially if you were a married man.
Right.
Excuse me.
But so you were in a situation where, at least by the time the war actually started, you were still one of the younger guys in the unit, but you
Oh,
had more
yes.
experience than a lot of them did.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Now, did you get to see much of the area outside of the camp? Could you go on liberty or?
Yeah, we went to New Orleans, and we go to Shreveport, and 4 of the buddies that I had motorcycles. They got from the Harley Davidson, I think it was Bun Perry, dealer in town, and they paid very little for them. And we would go on those, and my buddy was Bob Grace. He's the one that taught me into getting into the guards. And he had a motorcycle, and Cargo Beach, Tommy Jack Keene, and Harley George Harlan. All had motorcycles, so we would go up to Shreveport
Right.
or New Orleans.
Now, what would you do when you went to these places?
Well, things we do, we go to Shreveport, we'd kind of look around for the Capitol buildings and things. And then you would find out if they was having any USO dances or any dances. So we wanted to go dancing. The people in Louisiana, I just can't believe that they were so generous to us when we go and meet them. If you go to a bar to have a beer, you never bought a beer, they would give you a beer.
Now, were you old enough to have a beer yet?
Not legally.
Not legally.
But I never drank much. Some of the buddies I had drank quite a bit, but I'd take a beer sometimes, and if we were outside in a little setting area, I'd act like I was drinking and pour a lot of it on the ground so the guys would think I was drinking, but I was never a good drinker because a beer or two I'd get an awful headache, So I kind of stayed away from the alcohol.
Okay, so you were a young guy, but a smart young guy.
Well, I was not a good drinker.
All right. Now, do you remember how you heard about Pearl Harbor?
Yeah, sure do. We were in Camp Livingston, Louisiana, and the announcement came over all of us together that the Japanese had bombed air raid into Pearl Harbor. We thought that they would land troops too, but they didn't. I was in Camp Livingston, and we were really surprised that we were getting into it that bad with the Japanese. We knew with the Germans that
Right.
we were going to do it, but we were all surprised. And then we were all gung-ho to kick them out of any place they got into, So,
Now, how did things change then at Camp Livingston? Did you do things differently now?
no, not really. We didn't stay too much longer after the war. I don't know exactly, maybe a month or so.
Mm-hmm.
And then we went to Fort Devens, Massachusetts. We thought for sure that we were going to go to Europe.
Mm-hmm.
We stayed there for a short period of weeks and trained. And then we were put on train and we were taken all the way over to the West Coast, San Francisco.
All right. How long did it take you?
It must have taken us at least 4 or 5 days, it seems like.
All right.
I don't know, maybe longer.
Okay. Now, could you get off the train sometimes and look around, or?
Yeah, they let us get off the trains, and a lot of people would be there waving and
Mm-hmm.
giving you candy and treats, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't have any sleepers, you know. You just sat up in the chairs, but we didn't mind it too much,
Mhm.
you know. But we got over to San Francisco, and we went into the Cow Palace. I don't know, most people have heard of it. It's the big place where they used to have the rodeos and things.
All right. And where did they put you? Where did you sleep?
I slept in where the horses and
Mm-hmm.
animals in the stables, where the defecation still on the walls.
All
So it was very, it's not too good at smelling, you know.
right.
And we weren't allowed any liberty there.
Okay.
And Buddy and I, a couple of them, we went over the fence down to San Francisco. And we came back. We didn't get in trouble over that.
Okay. When you came back, did you come back over the fence, or did you go in the front
No,
door?
we came in the gate.
Okay.
But I don't remember what took place.
Mm-hmm.
We got back all right.
All right.
But,
And then where did you go from San Francisco?
then in San Francisco, we got on the boats there, the troop ships,
Mm-hmm.
the Lurleen and Monterey, I think it was.
Mhm.
But we were on the Lurleen.
Right.
It was the biggest one.
And what kind of ship was it?
It was a big electric cruiser.
Mm-hmm.
They had most of it converted over into bunk beds. You know, they were about this far from each other.
Mhm.
You know, and then they had latrines in the back end, and they would had a mess hall, and the food was above average.
Mm-hmm. Now, where did they put you? Were you above the water line or below it, or couldn't you
I
tell?
was above the water line.
And how many men were together with you in one cabin, or were you in a
Well,
cabin,
they
or what?
were, it was decks that was
Decks.
been closed
Okay.
off,
Mm-hmm.
so there was hundreds of them down there.
Right.
I don't know how many, but the mess hall and stuff was downstairs. But I remember the Navy was on the aft part of the ship,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where the latrines were.
Right.
And I don't remember how many days we'd been out, but in our going over, we had support vessels just for a few days or a few hours, seems like, out of San Francisco, and they left us, and then we went on our own because we were a very fast ship. You know, the learning was, but we'd go so many, I don't know where we'd go, and then we'd zig to the right, then we'd go straight, and maybe zig to the right or left.
Right. So you're trying to stay away from
Yeah, that's right.
submarines,
In
or
other words, so they couldn't get our direct course.
right.
But one morning I woke up and I had to go to the latrine, and I had to urinate. So I went back. I didn't take my life jacket or anything. I just went back there, and I just got back to the latrine, and I heard this say, "Submarine on the forward bar," or something. They were talking,
Right.
and they had guns back there, and they were rolling their guns around, and holy Toledo, I thought, even they cried, they saw the submarine. So I went in and I woke up all the guys in the thing was sleeping. Oh, there was a lot of them. And we all put on our life jackets and got out on the deck. to come to find out they was having a gun drill.
Oh,
It wasn't real, so I was in trouble.
now, did you get seasick when you first went out?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, we had. Seemed like we had cherry cough drops or something kind of a cherry thing. But I didn't get very. I wasn't bad, but a lot of guys were very sick for a long time. But I was very fortunate that I wasn't very sick, for a long period.
Yeah. So you adjusted to it pretty quickly then?
Pardon?
You got used to it pretty quickly?
Yeah.
Yeah, being on the ship. All right. Now, did you get to be out on deck much? Could you?
Yeah, we got on deck a lot, and we'd have practice, gun drills and abandoning the ship, with the life preservers and what lifeboats you take, and we'd all get on the side of the deck with our rifles in case we saw a submarine we were supposed to shoot at it.
Right.
I don't know if we'd have been very good, but we that was our defense,
Yep. It was something to do.
That's right. But it was comfortable, and we didn't have any lawn chairs or swimming pools or anything. But
Okay. Now, where did you sail to? Where did you land?
we landed in Adelaide, Australia. That was in the southern part of Australia. A lot of sheep down in that area, a lot of wool.
Right.
In fact, they asked for volunteers when we got over there to help unload the ship and load the ship up with wool. And so I volunteered. I figured that if we did, we'd probably get down to Adelaide. And we did. We got the nights in the. I don't remember. It seemed like we had a train close by that we took a train down there, and the rest of the guys went out to a little place around Ipswich, and Sandy Creek was the name of the town.
And so they were out in the camp, but you were in town for a
I was
while.
in town. I don't know. We stayed there a week or two, unloading the ship and loading it back up with sheepfold.
Right. And how did the Australians treat you there?
Very, very good. They're still my favorite people in the world. The Australians. If it hadn't been for the Australians, I know I wouldn't be alive today. They are very, very good people, very tough fighters. They are just beyond belief how well they treated us as soldiers. But they had a reason, because the Japs were going to invade them, and we were protecting their homeland. So
Right.
it was fairly mutual understanding. But we sure got along good with the Australians. Just was terrific.
And you must have been some of the first Americans to be there.
We were the first ones.
And certainly the first ones in Adelaide.
We
Yeah.
were the first ones to land. We were the first infantry to land.
All right. And then how long did you stay in Adelaide, do you think?
I don't remember, just a few months. And then we went by train to,
It was around Brisbane, wasn't it?
there was a camp outside of Brisbane.
A Cable or something like that?
I think you're right. I think it was Camp Cable. But I get that a little confused, because when I came back, I was the 42nd General Hospital around Melbourne. And then I went to I think maybe that was Ipswich. I don't remember.
Yeah. Well, Sandy Creek was Adelaide. That
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
there. So yeah. Anyway, but you're up in the area around Brisbane now. This time, are you in camp with everybody else?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And what were you doing up there?
In that part, we were training
Okay.
to go over to New Guinea. We were trained in how to survive in the jungle.
Okay. What kinds of things did they teach you?
First of all, is be very kind and generous to the natives. Keep your distance from their women. They're like us. They protect their women very much. They love tobacco, so I didn't smoke in those days. So I would. We went to New Guinea, and they would give tobacco, and they helped carry my machine guns and ammo. And every night, it would about rain every day. They would build us shanties, us guys in the weapons platoon. So we'd have shelter, but big banana leaves or palm leaves or wherever they lived.
Did they teach you anything about fighting the Japanese?
No, they did not. No, they didn't.
Oh.
They didn't
So,
mention I know they disliked the Japanese very much.
but you weren't getting training about what the Japanese were doing or what to watch out for?
Yeah, to a degree we were. They were camouflaged very good. They would wear the jungle stuff on them. They didn't have really camouflage outfits so much as they'd wear the leaves and stuff.
Right.
And a lot of snipers get up in the trees. That's where we lost a lot of guys. Those snipers, tough to spot them up there, And the distance, you didn't have any distance. If you had 10 foot in front of you, visibility, you were fortunate,
But did you really know that before you got into the jungle? Or
Yeah, we did, yeah.
Okay.
They told us we
So
did have
they're
that.
giving you some preparation
That's
anyway.
right, yeah. They prepared us fairly well.
All right. Now, when do you go over to New Guinea? So maybe September,
We
October?
went over there in about, I think it was October, November.
Okay. How did you get there?
We went over there by Liberty ships, most of them.
Okay.
And they took cargo over there, because I know the one that I was in, we slept down in a hole or on deck, and they had big bombs in there, So we slept on the bombs. We were
Right.
a little concerned about that,
All right.
But then when we got over to New Guinea, the smaller crafts come up boats, and we went down the ladders,
Right.
rope ladders, into the boats, and then we lived in pump tents. This little ones, Buddy and you
Right.
fixed a pump tent, and we stayed pretty much at the end of an airstrip there, the main airstrip.
Okay. And that was at Port Moresby?
Port Moresby, we were
Right.
kind of guarding the airstrip.
Okay.
And also we were up on the coast. We dug big foxholes and trenches and stuff in preparing for the Japanese invasion, which never happened, of course. But we worked very hard, and that was very hard digging,
Right. What kind of ground was it? Was there rock or mud or what?
A lot of rock and not too sandy. It was kind of clayish, hard, especially on the coast where we were digging in.
Okay.
Up to the end of the airstrip, we're up there higher. It was not bad of digging a hole, but we didn't think about digging a ditch down too deep, until one night the Japanese came over a couple planes and they bombed us. And one bomb landed so close, maybe 100, 125 yards from me, and it just took my one ear out completely, and the other one, that's why I've got so much trouble today. But we didn't have to be told after that to dig down, so we had a trench that if the airplane came that way, we'd get in this side, it was narrow, or vice versa. So we prepared ourselves better for that than we did before.
Right.
It was by the way, we went to see the hole where they dropped the bombs, and you could have taken a big promenade tent and just inverted it so it but none of us guys got killed over it, Some guys were like me, they got their hearing knocked out, but
Yeah. Well, they probably weren't after you so
No,
much as
they
the
were
airstrip.
airstrip, that's
Right.
right. No, they probably didn't even know we were there,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Some of the other companies got hit,
Yeah.
but not yours.
Uh,
Yeah. All right. Now, you stay around the airstrip area for a while, but then you're going to move out. Where do you go next, or how do you leave?
Then we, well, before that, we were by the airstrip, and they would take rations and stuff over to a airstrip. I don't know, maybe an hour or so by plane. And being young and tough, I thought we'd go down some of us guys. So we went right in the airplane.
Right.
We'd volunteer. So we go down there and help them load the plane. Sometimes we just go over and push it out, But we did that several times, which was really kind of silly. But then we learned about the planes, and we they decided to take us over. So they got us in DC-3s, I think they were, small 2-engine plane.
Right.
And they took us from Port Moresby over to a landing strip they'd cut out.
Right. So you're flying over the mountains then, you're over the Owen Stanleys.
Over the steep part of the Owen Stanley.
Right.
We landed there, and I know when the airplane took off, they had a rope, big rope against the wheels, till rubbed up real high and the tail come. Then they'd take it off as empty. It could have never gotten off full, but they brought us in, guys, in that way. And then from there, we started to go over towards Buna, Santa Nanda. And, I don't know how many days I marched.
But it was still a pretty long hike.
Oh, it was still a long hike, yeah.
Yeah. And what kind of country were you going through? Was it jungle, mountains?
Mountains and jungle, water, go across creeks, a lot of mosquitoes, a lot of get cold at night, rain on us. We didn't have any good rain gear or anything.
Yeah. What kind of clothing or uniforms did you have? What were you wearing?
We had a khaki vest and khaki pants, and our shoes, our combat boots, and our what am I trying to say? My thing for your leggings.
Leggings? Okay. So you still had the leggings?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, and
I know they told us certain things to do that you don't take your shoes off. You get wet, you just throw your socks away. And we all got fungus in our feet, and jungle rot and everything. I had it for years, and I finally got through with it at the VA hospital here just a few years ago. But I had it bad for years. But if you take your shoes off, you couldn't get them on the next morning. They would shrink
swell up. Yeah. Now, when you were kind of marching on the way toward Buna there, did you have enough food with you, or did you run out?
No, I don't recall us running out. I'm sure that we came very short on food, but I was a little skinny kid, weighed about 130 pounds. I never ate much, even as a kid, so food was not a big thing for me. But we had coconut over there, and sugar cane. We did have rations. They'd give us rations.
Were they American rations or Australian rations?
They were mostly Americans, I think. But we did have some Australian rations. That's when we got introduced to the meat. What am I trying to think?
Well, there's mutton and there's bully beef.
bully beef, yeah. But mutton, when we were in camp in Sandy Creek, we got used to mutton. It was, I think that's why none of us got a big appetite, you know. We couldn't go it, but I took, and I would share my rations and all my cigarettes with my the natives who were carrying our weapons and stuff. So, and like I say, every night they would build us shelters, and they were very good. In fact, when I got wounded, and they got ready to take me out on just sticks and a canvas across.
The stretcher, yeah.
Yeah, on the stretcher, that this one native had been with us. He recognized me, and he told the guy he wanted to carry me out with the other three. And so the guy let him do it, so he kind of took care of me, and I gave him all my cigarettes and all my raw. He was really pleased, you know. He really took care of me good, you know. But I don't know how many days they carried me out. I just because I was kind of, you know, out of it, you know.
Sure. Okay. Now let's back up again. You're on your way toward Buna and so forth. So you make it through the jungle and through the mountains. When you get up to the area around Buna and Sanananda, what was the situation when you got there, or what did your unit do then?
Okay, we got close enough we couldn't see the ocean, but I was in Sanananda. Some of our company went there, and some went over the Buna, I think. The rifle platoons, I think, more or less did. We dug foxholes, and that was our first encounter getting under fire. We had mortar artillery dropped on us. That was when my one of my buddies got killed. He was on the mortars behind us. Machine guns were up front, and the artillery or something range got him. He was a young guy. He was from Plainwell, and I know his name, but I can't. Lee. I don't remember his name. I can't think of it now.
All right. Now, could you see anything of the Japanese, or were they just bombarding you at that point?
That morning we could just get bombarded, so could see nothing. The next few days, we'd go in a ways, and you could see them, and we'd shoot, and they'd shoot back, and then we'd come back. We did one day on that, doing that, and we got under real heavy fire. We started shooting, and we must have really got in with the machine guns. They were really pinned us down, and there was about 5 or 6 of us. And I seem like all these years I remember who it was, but I couldn't remember the guys. And we thought we'd wait till it getting dark. We thought we'd wait till morning and try to get out. And I was pretty good on directions, so I figured that we had to go right straight back to get out. But in the meantime, when it started to get dark, some of my buddies were snoring. And I'd crawl over and wake them up. About 3 or 4 of them would snore like mad, and the other 2 guys didn't help me much, you know. So I kind of more or less took charge of the guys and kept them awake, you know. And then next morning, when it started to get daylight, we had to get our way out of there. So I said, I think we go back. I don't remember. It seemed like it was maybe south. And of course, the guy said, "Well, you go ahead and lead. You know the way, you know." So we didn't know we was going the wrong way. We get the Japanese or our own or Australians.
Right.
And we were going quite a while, and then someone said, "Who's there?" And we all dropped down on the ground. "American." "Why don't you come forward?" This is Australians. we thought, well, I thought, well, here's my chance. It's Australians or it's the Japanese, and I'll probably get it. But anyway, I went up forward, and next thing I know, boom, right in front of me, I heard the Australian jumped out. He said, okay, you are Yankees. Yeah. I said, yeah. He said, tell who you with. I said, 5 other guys. Hey, come on, you guys. And so we were real happy to see them. And then I told them where we were going. And then they told us directions where to go back. We went back and then off to the left, back to our company. We got back here, and the rest of the company was happy to see us. Thought maybe we got pinned down, got killed up there.
So, but when you woke up, when you were up in the morning and you moved, the Japanese were not around any place?
No.
So they'd gone away.
They would probably move back towards the ocean more or less. I don't know where they were, but we were happy they weren't there.
All right. Now, where you were the Japanese, did they have fortifications? Were they dug in or just operating?
They were dug in, they were dug in, but they weren't permanent. They were just temporarily, they dug foxholes and things. But it wasn't anything, they hadn't been there a long time,
Now, did your unit then have to go and try to attack them?
Yes, yeah.
And what happened?
We went there a couple times, and I know that we got some of them. We caught one up in a tree, and one of the guys said, "Come on down." The guy said, "What are you talking to me for?" We had no feeling for human lives in those days. We did that 2 or 3 days, and about the 3rd day, we were going through the same spot, and that's where I got shot by a sniper. And I didn't know exactly where my buddies spotted him up in the trees, and they shot him out of the tree. But there was no other ones around there. He was the only one that they saw. The other ones, they ran back through the jungle. They could hear him and see him kind of running back,
Now, some people told stories of snipers tying themselves up in the top of trees. Did they actually do that?
Yes, they did. Actually, they did, yeah.
So when
they tied themselves up, and if you'd hit one, if he was tied in good, you couldn't tell you if you had him or not. He was still there, and he'd have his guns strapped onto his shoulder, and
All right.
And more strapped in the trees than any other way in. They sure were.
All right. Now, somewhere in the process of all of this, you earned a Bronze Star. Do you know what that was for?
That's for those guys. I took care of those guys at night.
Okay.
Kept them snored.
All right. So
Took
you got
them out to the Australian.
All right. So saving your patrol.
And I hate to say this, but the Captain Boyce, that was with me, I know he put me in for a Bronze Star, but I never got it, so I got a Silver Star, but I got a Bronze Star. Myself and Milo Marks, just another buddy of mine that was in there, was a good fighter. He got a Silver Star, but that's all right, I got myself back home.
Right. Okay. Now, when you were hit, where did they hit you?
I got shot up here in the right lung.
Okay.
And it came back out through it came in at an angle like that. Came out through my shoulder blade in my arm there. And then,
now, did the men in your squad get you out? Was that?
Pardon?
Did the men in your squad get you out at that point? Did they bring you back? Yeah.
They put me on the ground. And had sulfur drugs in those days, sulfur powder. And they put sulfur on my wound.
Right.
Never realized that I got shot.
You had an exit wound too, yeah.
And they laid me in the mud. But anyway, they got this one on. And then I kind of blacked out.
Right.
I just don't remember. I remember I asked them where I got shot. Any place besides there? And they said no. And I got blood coming up my mouth, you know. Nose. I said I got shot in the throat or something. No, you didn't, Fred, you know. Well, it was the blood in my lung,
Right,
you know, was
right.
coming up. So I thought I was shot, but then the next thing I knew, I was back in a little shelter with bamboo sticks for a cot. It was very uncomfortable.
Right.
I was in that.
Was that an aid station at that point?
That was kind of the. And I don't know how many days I was there before they carried me back out for a day or two. I don't know how many days. Back to the landing strip.
Right.
Where they could fly us out, you know. But when I remember this one native who was my good buddy of mine. I remember him taking me back, and then they got ready to take me back to the field hospital. He went in there again, and he said, "This is my buddy. I'm taking him." They said, "Well, you got to take." No, I'm going to do it. No, you know the way they talk so fast.
Yeah.
And when he took me back, and I remember I went back to the airstrip, and the next thing I know, it was a day or two. Next thing I do, I woke up. I was in a big tent, you know, much bigger than a big storage tent, maybe 4 or 5. And I kind of looked around, and there was a lot of guys on stretchers in there, you know, but nobody talking or doing anything. And a while later, a couple guys were coming in, and one said, "Hey, this guy here is alive. This one's alive." It was me he was talking about. So they must have had dead guys in there or something. I don't know.
Wow.
But anyway, I remember they took me out of there and took me to another part of the hospital. Then the next day or two, I remember getting on the airplane. I was laying out there in stretchers, and they was getting ready to load us into the plane, some of us guys. And beside me was my captain, Captain Bush. He'd been shot in the hip or the leg or the back. And the guy said, "Here's an officer, we got to get him out first." He said, "No, you don't get me out first. You get this guy over here out." He said, "Hey, we were told to get the officers first." He said, "I don't give a shit what you said." You know, that's what he said. He said, "Take that soldier there." So they took me out first, you know, on this thing, and took me back to the 42nd General Hospital in
Was that Melbourne?
Moresby. No, that wasn't 42nd.
Okay.
It was just a
Hospital in Port
hospital
Moresby.
in Fort Moresby, yeah.
Yeah.
Those were tents too. And that's when they decided to try to do something with my lung, and they kind of drained it, but it didn't do the good job till I got back to the 42nd General in Melbourne. And when I got back there, we had good physicians, good nurses, the latest equipment, you know.
How long did they have you in the hospital?
I stayed in the hospital probably a year almost.
Wow. And what did you do all of that time?
Most of the time, I didn't do much of anything, really. I would try to exercise, try to walk, try to build up my strength. We didn't have any physical fitness, you know, gyms or any working, but we'd just walk around the area outside the hospital. They would take us on little trips, and they would take us on bus trips. We enjoyed that very much. So that's about the
So you spent a year doing.
extent of my.
You've got to be a year doing that. Now, but because of the nature of your injury, you didn't have a big cast or anything like that.
No.
So you could get around a little better than some of the
Well, when I
guys.
went back to 42nd General Hospital, That's when he operated on my side,
Mm-hmm.
on my long end. I think they took the upper lobe out.
Mm-hmm.
But I was very sore after that for quite
Right,
a long
right.
time, you know. And then from there, I went to Ipswich. It was a field hospital.
Mm-hmm.
That was a good hospital. They had a lot of nurses there. We played ball and we had even a little volleyball. I wasn't too agile
Yeah.
with it, but
But
I
you,
played a little ball.
but you were up and moving
Yeah,
around
I
and
was
doing
up,
things
yeah,
then.
yeah.
Yeah.
Then the malaria set in after I got back,
Mm-hmm.
and I had quite a time with malaria when I was in that Ipswich hospital.
Mm-hmm.
They give us Adabrin. It would make you really yellow, you
Yep.
know. But that was better than that. But about every day, at a certain time in the evening, you start getting a fever and the shakes, and you get it, you know.
Did they give you quinine too, or just Adabrin?
They didn't have too much quinine available, mostly Adabrin.
Mm-hmm.
But eventually we did get quinine, and I think it was a better medicine, you know.
Yeah. Well, Adabrin, I think, was supposed to help prevent you from getting it.
It wasn't.
But once you got it already, the quinine
Okay.
probably did more for you.
You're very right.
Yeah.
I think you're right, probably.
At least I've talked to enough people now who've gone through that. I think that's
you're
how,
right.
how it mostly worked.
I think
But they,
you're right.
they used what they had.
I think
All
you're
right.
right.
So about how long then do you think you spent in Australia? Was it a year total between Melbourne and Ipswich, or was there a year in Melbourne and then more time in Ipswich?
I mean, when I came back from New Guinea,
How long were you in Australia then when you came after you came back?
probably a year.
Okay. And then when you were through with that, did they just send you back to the States?
Yeah,
Okay.
I went by ship
Mm-hmm.
back to Panama, and they let us off in Panama in the hospital there. And they didn't want to take us up the North Atlantic because of the submarine attacks.
Right.
But they took the ship up there, so we stayed in Panama for a month or so.
Mm-hmm.
Then we went up the coast to San Francisco. That's when I went into the 42nd General Hospital,
Mm-hmm.
and it's quite a few of my buddies were there, you know. But not many from the original C Company, but
Mm-hmm.
ones that that got into our outfit through the draft
Right.
and the replacements. You
Mm-hmm.
know. But that's
So then you have to spend time in the hospital in San Francisco too?
yeah. I spent probably two or more months,
Mm-hmm.
and then I went out to Texas. Texas, I should know, but I don't remember.
Well, what were you doing in Texas? Why were you there?
And recuperating in the hospital.
Okay, another hospital. All
That
right.
was another hospital. It was just a wasn't a a main hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Is a rehabilitation center.
Okay.
You know. So isn't it odd? I just can't tell you where that was.
Well, it's okay.
Beaumont, Texas.
Beaumont,
I
Texas.
think it was. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was. Beaumont, Texas.
All
yeah.
right. Now, after you finished there, did you finally get to go home at that point?
No, I went to Fort Hood, Texas,
Mm-hmm.
in the tank destroyer outfit,
Mm-hmm.
and I was there for a while. And then they needed some military police, so I joined the military police.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would do military police service on the bridge going to Juarez.
Mm-hmm.
I did that for 2 or 3 months, and then they asked for volunteers to go out to the side camps. The judge to guard the German prisoners of war,
Okay.
worked in the cotton fields
Mhm.
and the pecan groves and etc. So I went out there to a place called Hatch, New Mexico. It was about 75 miles north of El Paso, Texas.
Mhm.
So I went there and stayed there for about close to a year, I'd
Mhm.
say. And then the war was over with, and that's where I got discharged.
Right. Now, what was it like? Did you see much of the German prisoners themselves?
Oh yeah, I saw the German prisoners every day.
Mm-hmm.
This lieutenant and I were more or less in charge of the camp.
Okay.
And I would delegate the prisoners to go out on certain farms. The farmers would come in and they'd say they needed 6 or 8 or 10,
Right.
and we would get them ready, and they would go out. The farmer would come pick them up for these trucks.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we deliver some of them. But yeah, I got to know the German prisoners real well. In fact, here after 60s, some years, I married a girl in Hatch, New Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where the camp was. So my nephew, my my wife's sister's boy,
Mm-hmm.
lives in San Antonio, Texas, and they have a chili festival in the Hatch in Las Cruces every year.
Mm-hmm.
He came down there this year, and he was at the chili festival, and he saw a guy. He had a Hatch hat on, older fella.
Mm-hmm.
He said, "Are you from Hatch?" He said, "No, but I was a German prisoner."
Mm-hmm.
And my nephew said, "Well, my uncle was a guard." He said, "What was his name?" The guy said, "Fred Spencer." Fred Spencer, I remember him. Him and Lieutenant Strutz ran the camp.
Mm-hmm.
He said, Lieutenant Strutz was a mean guy, but Fred was a real nice guy. But I probably wasn't. Anyway, to come to find out, he called me, and he also lives in Michigan,
Mm-hmm.
Grand Bank. So about 3 weeks ago, I was going up north, stopped in there to get an idea about where he lived,
Mm-hmm.
and I stopped and got the information from a garage, and the lady said, "Am I looking for Florence,
Mm-hmm.
Ernst Florence?" And he said, "I know him. He lives right down the street right here, about 4 blocks, second house down." So I went down there. He came to the door. "Hello." I knew right away it was a German guy.
Mm-hmm.
I said, "Ernst? Yeah, who are you?" I said, "Fred Spencer." "Oh, Fred Spencer." So we went in and had a conversation. And then there's a bunch of German prisoners that are buried out at Fort Custer.
Mhm.
And they have a memorial for him every year. And he's going to come down here. Well, he went back when he got out of prison war camp. He went back to Germany, to East Germany,
Mm-hmm.
under the Russians. Very unhappy.
Yeah.
He said it was really bad. And he wanted to come to the United States. And he went and got the information. They said, if you were to a West German girl, you could probably get over. So he went over and found a West German girl. Best thing that ever happened. She died here a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't need her, but they had 4 children.
Mm-hmm.
But they came over here in 1957. Some church in Lansing sponsored them. He said it was just a dream come true. He said to get out of that place and get over here in America. He said he was just thankful, you know. I never had well, to this day I don't even have any grudge against Japanese
Mm-hmm.
or anybody that we fought against. That it's kind of wore off. innocent as I was, that they got involved in.
Mhm.
But anyway, I'm going to see him November the 18th at Fort Custer, so I'm kind of looking forward to it. Very nice guy. He's a professional photographer.
Mhm.
He did all the work in Lansing for the high schools. And he's going to be older, than all in the 20s.
Mhm.
He's got the photography outfit set up, to, for all the cameras and things. So he should know what he's doing pretty good,
Mhm. All right. Now, this take is about up to stop. We're almost done, but you're serving down in New Mexico guarding German prisoners. About how many Germans do you think were in the camp that you were at?
Probably 150 maybe.
All right. Now, were there other MPs and other soldiers there?
Oh yes.
But you and the lieutenant or whatever, you were the ones who were in charge of sending them out.
Right, that's right.
Okay. Now, in general, how did the German soldiers behave?
90% of them were good.
Mm-hmm.
10% of them were real Nazis, just
Okay.
was troublemakers. They gave us all of our trouble. They would, any little excuse they would have to create problems, they would do it. And this Lieutenant Strutz was a very young
Mm-hmm.
man, but very, very strong, and he handled them well. You know, he would lock them up in little cubicle things. That's all we had. And this guy brought that up to me about locking them in there. They'd go on strike. They wouldn't want to do something. There was probably a good dozen of them
Mm-hmm.
that were bad news, and they were all seemed to be real. You know, they were the Nazis insignia,
Yeah.
and we wouldn't let them wear those things.
Mm-hmm.
And SS,
Right. The lightning bolts, or
yeah, we take all that stuff away from
Yeah.
them, you know. But I got some of it, but normally, yeah, we got along very good with the German prisoners. They were good workers in the field too. They did a nice job.
now, about how old were the Germans? Were they older, younger?
About it from a year younger till maybe 4 years older.
Okay.
This German prisoner I was talking to, he's a year younger than I am.
Mm-hmm.
But he said that the best thing he ever saw in his life, he thought, not the Statue of Liberty,
Mm-hmm.
but D-Day,
Mm-hmm.
when the airplanes came over and all the paratroopers came out. He said, I got down on my knees and I prayed. He said, the war's going to be over with.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it did take a while after that, but he said he was so thankful that happened. He said, I was always against the war. I was not a good, I was never a Nazi, he said.
Yeah. Well, he wouldn't have been. I guess he would have been about 19 or 20 in 1944. Yeah.
Yeah, he probably, at the most.
Mm-hmm.
About 19, 18, 19.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, were the in the prison camp, were the ones who were the hardened Nazis? Did they threaten the other prisoners? Did they try
Yeah,
to?
they tried to scare them into doing certain things, you know, that if they didn't do it, they would harm them, you know. And so we had certain guys, some like Secret Service, you know, that report when they do things like that.
Right.
And we'd watch. We never had anybody try to escape,
Mm-hmm.
but we had all corners of the thing with towers and lights, and two guys in each tower. And then we had big high fence around it, double stringed, big barbed wire reversed on it. So they would have had trouble if they did escape, their best bet would have gone to Mexico,
Right.
but none of them did. But we had trouble with that one group. But I didn't realize that they were that hard-nosed when they came over. They wouldn't do anything. They didn't want to work. They would act like they were sick. You'd get them on a detail, or you go on a detail, take them out in the cotton field or someplace. You'd find them over on the side sleeping or something.
Right.
Just they would do nothing. They were very, very bad news, But the rest of them were above average, So.
Now, when the war came to an end, then did you send them off, or did you leave the camp
No,
first?
I left the camp before they did.
Mm-hmm.
I had the point system,
Right.
so I had enough points, way more, that I got out there. I with the lieutenant who and I had some pretty good connection with the officers, the headquarters in Fort Bliss, and I went down there and told them that I was getting married to a girl in the hatch. That's where I met my wife. She worked in a bank down there. I used to take the money from the farmers and take it down to the bank and deposit. And so they, where was I?
Well, you're talking about getting discharged. You've gone to Fort Bliss.
I had more than enough points, so I think there was only about 2 of us or 3 of us that was that way. The rest of them were all guys that came in on limited service,
Right.
They were never combat troops, So they stayed, and so I got out, and a lieutenant stayed, and so the camp stayed there for several months after that. The camp was right at a high school, and he had a building right across the street. But the buildings are still there. I was back there 5 or 6 years ago. Brought back a lot of memories, But it was a good experience, and an odd thing that most of the Germans spoke English. You'd be surprised how many of them spoke English, not fluent, but enough that you carry on a conversation. Very good, and so I tried to pick up quite a bit of German, and I did quite well. I picked up quite a bit of German from a couple of guys that I knew there. One guy, his name was Bruno Holtman. I still got his photo in his ID thing, and he spoke fluent. He was I think he had something to do with an education program back home, and he taught me quite a bit of German. So I do fairly well in German. I did at those days, but I never have heard from you. I should have probably tried to get in contact with him, And going back to people of nationalities, there was a friend of mine who was the manager of the WKZO radio station, Tony Gaston, and he met a Japanese fellow at through Western up here. And his father, this Japanese fella, father was in the Japanese army. He wasn't, I don't think, any combat, but he was in the service. So they said that he had a son that was just graduating from high school. He was going to send him over here to college, maybe. And he wanted to know if he'd come over if I would take the kid fishing. And so I came over, and he came over, and I spent quite a few days with him fishing, and talking to him, and he spoke about as much English as I did Japanese. Nothing. but we got pretty good at communicating. And his folks invited my wife and I over to Japan on a vacation over there.
Mm-hmm.
And Tony Gass and I didn't go, but Tony went.
Mm-hmm.
And he said they really treated him royally. He said, so his father came over here and his mother, and I took them fishing here too. Oh, they got a kick out of that. And she outfished him. It really upset him. It really did. But she loved to fish, and very, very, very nice people, you know, so, yeah, they seem to be very nice.
Okay. Now, when you got discharged and then you got married, did you stay in New Mexico for a while, or did
No,
you come
no,
back to
no.
Michigan?
Got married, and about 2 days later, got on the El Capitan, Santa Fe Railroad,
Mm-hmm.
and went to Chicago. It takes 24 hours, and then from Chicago, got on a train and came to Kalamazoo, and that was had a pair of pants that I wore that the seam came loose in the crotch, you know, and that's what I wore my jacket down low. Didn't have much clothing, and I think I had something like $300 in we'll call it all my discharge and my money. I'd sent
Mm-hmm.
a few dollars home to my mother. I think my complete wealth was $300.
So, what did you do once you got home?
I went over to called Fuller Manufacturing. It's now Eaton
Mm-hmm.
Transmission Division,
Right.
and I applied for a job. And they were looking for help real bad, so I got a job there on night shift running a machine. No, I didn't. I got a job as a millwright
Mm-hmm.
and a belt man repairing the belts on machines. I got 75 cents an hour, and we were happy to have the job.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually, I got bidding rights, and I was unionized.
Mm-hmm.
I've been on a piecework machine, and that was a very good. I got trained on that, and then I worked on that for 7, 8 years. Very active in the union.
Mm-hmm.
I was in the committee of the union and vice president, chairman of the bargaining committee. And I got, along with management real well, personnel director, and the Bob Houston was more or less the guy with human relations.
Mm-hmm.
He got me off the side and told me that I think you ought to get out of the union, the bargaining committee, and resign and go into management.
Mm-hmm.
We'll send you to school, and you can get your diploma, send you to Western, and so I did that. So I resigned. I wasn't very well liked when I did that. But then I went to Western, came back, and then Fuller started a plant in Brazil.
Mm-hmm.
So they asked me to go down to Brazil and set up some equipment, and because that's what I really like to do is work on equipment. So I went down there with a couple other fellows. We set up a plant. I was there for a couple of months. I came home, and then I took 3 other fellows and went back for another month or so and finished the project. It's still down there now. It's in. It was outside of
Sao Paulo, or?
It was outside of San Paulo. I can't remember where it was, but that was the extent of it right there.
Mhm.
So It was a very good place to work, Eaton, very good place to work.
And it's still up and running, unlike a lot of
Still
places.
Eaton is, yeah. They closed the plant up here, the manufacturing with the transmissions. They got a plant in Tennessee. They closed down. And they got a plant in North Carolina and a plant in Iowa. The plant in Iowa and the North Carolina plant are still going. One in King Mountain, one in Shenandoah. But and then when I retired, I went to work with a company who sells machinery, broach machinery. It does the internal part of a gear, puts the splines under the ronnel. And so I sold those for about 12 years. I had Eaton as one of my biggest customers. So I was very fortunate there, and I'd go to the plants in Tennessee and North Carolina. So it really came out very nice for me.
Now, how long have you had this place here on the lake?
We moved here in 1975, about 33 years.
Okay, that's a lot of fishing.
Well, I do a lot of fishing, yes.
Okay.
And Gull Lake across the street is a very good lake, but I sold my boat on Gull Lake last year because all my buddies that I fish with, they're all dead, or a couple of them are crippled up in nursing homes, and it's too large a lake to go on by myself, and my wife wasn't comfortable.
Right.
So I catch all the fish I went on this lake here.
Okay. Now, to look back on the whole thing now, how do you think your time in the service wound up affecting you?
How it affected me? A couple ways. It hurt me badly, my hearing, which has been a real bad thing for me all through my life. As far as my lung condition, it's not been that big. My hearing's been a thing. The military service gave me a good lesson. I think that's why I got into management, because I learned to, supervise and handle people, to judge people, and to be fair with people, and honest. Started even over in Guinea with the native over there.
Sure.
So treat people more or less the way you expect to be treated, and you'll have a pretty happy life. Get yourself a good woman. I've been married 63 years to the same gal.
Right.
And we have 2 daughters, three grandchildren. So it's been a very, very good experience for me being in the service.
Well,
I think it helped me a great deal.
You certainly learned to deal with a lot of very different kinds of people.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, it makes for a good story. So thank you for telling it to me today.
I hope I did.
Sure.
My voice is.